The Young Turks, an episode with explosions and apparently with dragons. I think Jesus is getting excited for the next season of Game of Thrones.
Slow-mo. Was there a slow-mo dragon there?
There was a slow-mo dragon claw. Maybe he'll use it again at some point. So, Dave is here, Jimmy is here, Jank is not here, nor will he be here until Friday, but he will be back. He's in San Francisco, I think, with seemingly half of the Young Turks. Like, everybody's there.
Oh, really?
Is it for the movie? No, I think it's some sort of business thing, but a lot of people are there. Anyway, pretty big news today. The vaccine controversy continues. We will get to that. Unfortunately, there is very serious and very tragic news that we're going to be covering first.
Just real quick on the vaccine thing. We're doing this show as if it's from 1852, right? That's why we're covering vaccines, because otherwise it makes no sense.
I feel more and more like that on almost every issue that we're so big.
What year is it? It's very confusing.
We'll get to, I mean, when I think about what the year 2000 was supposed to be like, and now I realize, wait, that was 15 years ago. And we have evolved since then.
Yeah.
No, torture's still bad, or is it how we sell the best of that? It's Tuesday today?
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Rape still comes down. Frowned upon.
Rape still comes down.
Anal rehydration.
Anal rehydration still.
As a part of the other ones, yes, it is frowned upon still.
Okay.
And now with an anal rehydration joke, I'm going to segue into terrible execution. As it suffers more and more military setbacks, ISIS is being forced to grow more creative and more barbaric with its executions. Earlier today, video was released that allegedly shows the burning alive of a captured Jordanian pilot. Supporters of the group shared a video showing Lieutenant Muaf al-Hassiasbeh dressed in an orange jumpsuit standing in a cage before being burned alive. The footage appeared at the end of an over 20-minute video condemning Jordanian forces' involvement in coalition airstrikes against the militant group. An important fact, which I'm sure will come up in our discussion of it, is that according to Jordanian authorities, the actual execution was done on January 3rd, whereas we've been led to believe up until very recently that the pilot was still alive just days ago. Now, we made a decision internally that we will not be showing photos of the actual execution. If you are interested in them, there are many places online where you can see it. For me personally, I only speak for myself. I feel like showing someone being burned alive gets into torture porn territory. I don't think that there's anything constructive to be gained from seeing it. Use your imagination. You know how horrific it is. Now, obviously, this is terrible. We had heard up until recently that the pilot could be used in part of a three-country negotiation that would have allowed the release of a terrorist that has been held since 2005 by Jordanian authorities. That, of course, will not happen now, and it comes just days after the execution of another captured Japanese tourist. So, obviously, horrific. It's slightly different. Burning alive. I mean, we've seen many horrific forms of torture committed by ISIS. I think this one goes above and beyond even for them.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about here. In terms of us not showing the video, obviously, which I wasn't even able to find the video today. That's how quickly people are taking it down. But in terms of us not showing the images, I think at the beginning when this ISIS thing really started and the beheadings were going, that was probably around late June, July or so. Even on my show, we showed some of the beginnings of the beheading, not the actual beheading, but some of the speeches before, because I thought it was important for people to understand that some really sick, that's some really sick, twisted stuff was happening, and that was when it was just happening, so it was an intro to all of that. We haven't been doing it for the last month or two. We didn't do the Japanese one, even though it's still happening, because at this point, everyone knows about it. This thing with this burning, a live human being in a cage, burning him, there's no reason to show any of this, so I'm completely on board what we're doing here. I know that's a sidebar to really the guts of the story, but I think it's important to do that.
Yeah, and I understand that other news organizations, I'm sure that they've had discussions, and perhaps they think that it's important that we show that we're not going to be scared off, and so perhaps showing the footage, I don't know, gets that idea across in some way. That's a decision that we made internally here. Who knows in the future? Now, the reason that we are talking about the story, whereas we did not really cover the Japanese hostage that had been taken when they were trying to do the ransom deal with Japan for $200 million, is that this is a foreign fighter. The Jordanian pilot, his F-16 crashed near Raqqa, and Jordan, as we're gonna show you some of the quotes, they're promising great retribution. Now, they had already been involved in a military campaign against ISIS. I don't know exactly how you ramp it up, but perhaps they're going to commit more forces, And so this does have military consequences for the conflict with ISIS, which is why it rises to a level of newsworthiness that simply advertising the fact that they're taking hostages too often feels like doing PR for ISIS. This is a slightly different situation.
Yeah, to that point, real quick, this negotiations thing, we just found out, I think it was today, that this happened about a month ago, actually.
Yeah.
So we're finding out about today. But even in the last couple of weeks, they've been talking about negotiating with the Japanese for money to release the hostages. They were talking about that with the Jordanians as well. You simply cannot negotiate with these people. Yeah. And if that's not clear at this point, look, the Jordanians were negotiating over someone that we now know was dead the entire time.
Yeah.
There is no negotiations, I don't think, in a case like this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we knew before that negotiating with them almost certainly will inspire them to commit further acts of both terrorism but also hostage taking.
And you give them money to fund the operation.
Exactly, which makes it easier for them to do it in the future. But now we know that you can't even trust them to be alive the people that they say are. And Jordan did seem interested in possibly doing this prisoner transfer up until this video was released.
So, just like you don't want to give them ransom money, you don't want to play into their hands. I think it's a great idea not to show the video. I'm against showing the video. That's exactly what they want us to do. They want us to show the video, I'm sure. And then they want us to shit our pants about it, right? Isn't that what this... So what is the point of them doing this even worse than a beheading? So now they're lighting a guy on fire. What do they want? What do they want? Well, we know every time that they release a video, they get new recruits. So now this is even more heinous for whatever reason. When the more heinous the video ISIS releases, they still can get more recruits.
Yeah.
What would be the other purpose? Okay, you want to terrorize people. Do you want to scare Jordan?
Yeah.
But
that's what they say.
But do they want Jordan to overreach like we overreached in Afghanistan and Iraq? Do they want that to happen? I mean,
well, I think partly what they want is what Jordan is about to do. It sounds like Jordan's about to execute 6 ISIS hostages that they have in Jordan, and then that'll further inflame things.
Yes.
They just want an endless escalation.
They want it to escalate, right? Yeah. So this plays. So Jordan. Well, let's read the quote from them, I guess.
Okay, sure. So we have one quote. A spokesman for the armed forces of Jordan who says, "While the military forces mourn the martyr, they emphasize his blood will not be shed in vain. Our punishment and revenge will be as huge as the loss of the Jordanians." And yeah, so the speculation is that one of the reasons that they did this, particularly to the Jordanian pilot, is to get Jordan to sort of back off from the conflict, as if that has ever been the result of killing a member of a foreign nation.
In a horrific way.
So that makes it hard to believe that could even be their motivation, because it's so nonsensical.
Yeah, and by the way, Jordan's not doing that much in the fight in ISIS. They're really not. We're doing most of it, and we've got some bases there and stuff like that, but they're not doing that much. This guy did happen to get shot down over Iraq, but they're not adding that much. So even that argument's probably not that valid.
Yeah, and so they're going to do exactly what they want them to do. They're going to overreact. They're going to come at them. They're going to revenge kill. They're going to kill their own prisoners. So we all know. So that's just going to escalate the violence. This doesn't do anything. I know.
So what are we supposed to do?
If I was in charge of Jordan, you can't go, hey, we're going to treat their prisoners nicely now. I know you can't say that, but that's actually, we talked about this with the torture thing. That's one of the reasons why you do treat prisoners well in war, is so that those guys when they're in battle, they will surrender if they're losing.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they know that they're going to be tortured like this or killed, they won't ever surrender. So it makes even the battle even worse and more gruesome. So, again, this is all I know is that this is what they want us to do. They want Jordan to overreact like this, kill their prisoners, start coming at them. I know, so I just say you got to somehow resist doing what they want you to do.
Yeah, and by the way, King Hussein was in the United States today. He was supposed to meet with Obama today.
Right.
He's thought of as sort of a bit of a Western puppet in the Arab world.
Yeah.
So the idea that they can now... He has to come down hard because he needs his cred in the Arab world.
Yeah.
So you're right. They're playing us at both. They're not playing us. They're playing the Jordanians and us. They're playing everybody at both sides.
And they've been effectively playing every side so far. I think ISIS has been winning certainly the propaganda war the way they want to win it. So they've certainly been. I mean, they went from 70 guys to 700 guys, but now they control a big swath of that area over there, right?
Yeah. And by the way, remember 2 weeks ago in the State of the Union, Obama said that ISIL is on the run or something to that effect. Which then the next morning Biden said, maybe we got to do some troops on the ground, which again, Chuck Hagel, who just resigned as the Secretary of Defense, he said it this week too. So it's very confusing as to what's actually working or not working.
And if this gets us to put boots on the ground, there's no end to boots on the ground. You're not going to ever kill ISIS. You're never going to kill their idea of their hatred of the West. It's never going to go, hey, by the way, we got rid of Al-Qaeda and ISIS and everybody's regular.
But Jimmy, it worked in Iraq the first time. In Afghanistan, didn't those work out?
Again, we just created a bigger, right. Your point is a good one, Dave. We created bigger problems.
Yeah, and we do have to bear in mind that not only did we a few weeks ago have actual soldiers in Iraq, but we also sent, in the wake of the State of the Union, an additional 3,000 soldiers. That's why I think it's all the more important that we need to have some formal authorization for the use of force against ISIS, some sort of restrictions on what can be done. And I agree. I think that they are simultaneously fighting an actual war and a propaganda war. I don't know internationally if this is a win for them. I assume it'll serve the function you said of helping with recruitment and all of that. They seem to have been doing pretty well in that, but I also know that they have been having serious setbacks, both in terms of the number of ISIS members who've been killed in the past 2 months or so. They haven't been taking over additional territory and have been pushed out of some of the territory that they had already taken. And we know that we had read a report a few weeks ago about some of their staple crops that were supposed to be used by ISIS as an example of their ability to not just conquer territory, but actually govern the territory. It's expected that it'll be a particularly bad year for those crops. They don't seem to be able to show the people of the lands they've conquered that they can actually be responsible governors of that territory. And so they might be winning the propaganda war, but they also still have to keep the people on their side.
Right, I get that, but I love when people say, they're not getting the social services that the people thought they were getting, things like that. They're literally chopping people's heads off and burning them alive. Like, I don't think that they're necessarily that interested in governing properly. The principles of governance that any of us in the West. No, I get. Right, I get your point that they need eventually, if they were to take the entire, restore the caliphate, that eventually they'd have to govern in some. But I just think that's so far off. What they want to do now is just sow volatility and hatred and cause it, and then cause our reaction. And that's exactly what they're getting out of us.
Let me read one more quote. This is coming from a former State Department advisor on the Middle East talking about their execution techniques and why it is they might have switched over to the burning alive that we saw today. They need to have a welcome from Sunni Arabs in Anbar province in Iraq to maintain their operations. He said the extremist group's recent military setbacks may have fueled the killings. They need to compensate for that with increasingly gruesome killings of prisoners. Because we should remember that while obviously the videos, for whatever reason, actually get poor, downtrodden people without opportunities in some of these countries to join up with them or at least sympathize with them, I think a far better generator of international support was conquering territory, showing that they're not just committing acts of terrorism, they're taking over the region. And if they can no longer do that, and in fact, if they can't even hold on to the territory that they held a month and a half ago, then maybe they'll lose some of that sort of goodwill, I suppose, by jihadi sympathizers in countries like even Jordan, for instance.
And these guys,
that's a possibility.
These ISIS guys, a lot of experts say these are Saddam's guys. They were trained by Saddam's guys, which means they were trained by Russians, which means they're trained in regular warfare. They're trained in informational, how to get information. They're also trained in propaganda. So that's what they're doing right now. This training comes from Russia, how to do this crazy propaganda stuff. So I just, whatever you think that the ISIS wants you to do when they release a video, don't do it. That's the only, I know it's hard. You want to go, I was thinking this when I heard about it. I'm like, oh boy, I want to join. I want to go kill someone. I'm never going to do anything like that.
Oh, our military.
Yeah, I wanted to join our military to go kill them.
I thought you wanted to join ISIS.
No, don't join ISIS.
Yeah. It's like how people felt after 9/11. Like, I want to go. I want to do something.
Kyle.
Yeah.
He wants to go off the war and kill people who weren't involved in it.
The Arizona football player. I forget his name. Pat Tillman.
Yeah.
Right. He another guy. Millionaire decides I'm going to go do something for my country. I know that feeling. You want to do something. You want to get them back. But whatever you got, I would just urge caution. Let's keep our hands out of it. It's too late though. We're going in. The military-industrial complex wants to go in. They want us to fight ISIS. They need a boogeyman. They got a new boogeyman. They couldn't be fucking happier.
Yeah.
And maybe that's is that, I don't know if that's anti-American to say, but I'm saying it about the defense contractors that are really doing backflips over this. I'm sure they're happy about it.
You know, I don't know what we're supposed to do, but I think that every time we've talked about this, I don't understand. There are other countries in the world that have armies besides us. Turkey, I think, has the world's third largest army. I think I'm right about that. They're on the border of Syria. Saudi Arabia has an army. Jordan apparently has an army. Why don't they do a little bit more and we could step back a little bit? But it goes to your point.
It goes because
I know what the answer is.
We have been trying to get,
you know what I mean? Like,
we've been pressuring Turkey, for instance, to make it a little bit more difficult for Europeans to filter into Syria and also for people in Syria to filter into Europe. So we've been trying to get them to do more, but we also, from Turkey's domestic political point of view, anytime they
Kurds are
think
killed,
about, well, I mean, there's the Kurdish issue, but there's also, if they were to get involved in a conflict like that, like in Syria, then they run the risk of radicalizing their own sort of fairly still weak Islam.
No, I get it.
They are worried about that possibility.
Well, I get it. Of course, everyone has their reasons to either get involved or not get involved. But that's why then it always comes down on us. So maybe once in a blue moon, we should be like, guys, you got to handle this one on your own. Sorry.
Yeah. I would like
got this one.
France, you're going to handle this one.
Sorry, France. I'd like to leave
the wheel we spin.
Yeah, I'd like to leave them handle it all. I don't think we should be trying to. I know it's like, well, we have to, we have to protect our interests in the Middle East. We have to do something. We'll just think we don't know what the fuck to do though, because every time we do something, it backfires.
Yeah.
The opposite of what we want to have happen happens. So maybe we just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
maybe
you look at the situation
Let's
there.
rebuild Detroit.
That's a lost cause. Let's go for Afghanistan. That's awful. So it's hard, obviously, when you look at the situation with ISIS and think, well, if we were to just totally back off from all of those countries and do nothing, God knows what they might do. But as you said, I mean, we were saying the same thing about the regime in Iraq before we took it down. Yes, if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have ISIS. So you never know.
Right,
Perhaps
and then
the evil that you know.
Yeah, and just last look, those other armies might say we have to do more. So Turkey might be like, you know what, we have to deal with this. It's on our border. Yeah. We're thousands of miles. We're literally half the world away from this. Although they're tricking us into believing they're coming through Mexico too. Yeah. But we're half the world away. There are countries on their borders. Jordan shares a border with Syria. Turkey shares a border with Syria. So maybe they could get involved a little bit.
And let's not forget that the first Gulf War, the one from 91, was that 90?
Yeah, 91, yeah.
That's what Osama bin Laden was upset about in the first place, that we went in there. Yeah. He was upset at Saudi Arabia for inviting us to go in to fight for Kuwait against Saddam. He was like, why are you bringing the infidels over here to fight our fight? So that's where this all started in the first fucking place. Us trying to go over there to fix something to fight against Iraq in the first place in the 90s. So that's the more we go, there's just always going to be an opposite and equal reaction to whatever we do. You drop a bomb there, it just doesn't go, oh, we fixed the problem with a bomb. We killed some motherfuckers in another country and everything's okay. It's never worked. It's not going to work.
You know what, Jimmy? We're between Iraq and a hard place.
But
you got to be kidding me.
People are going to leave this video thinking that ISIS is in Uganda.
that was the takeaway.
I don't know. Apparently they're in the southwestern United States. Okay, really fast, just because I mentioned Chris Kyle. I read today a report that there is a British sniper who's still serving, who has 10 more confirmed kills than Chris Kyle.
Ooh.
Oh. Not that I like that any more than I like Chris Kyle's, but I like that the British sniper at least is considered to be a very humble guy. He doesn't brag about how insanely deadly he is at long range.
I like when we talk about it like it's a video game. I think that's great. Killing people, the number of kills, like it's Donkey Kong or something.
Yeah, he's a good KDA. Okay, let's turn back to the big domestic issue of this week, at least. There's a new wedge issue that's driving apart not just Democrats and Republicans, but it's even pitting one Republican against another, and that is whether or not you should get your children vaccinated for things like the measles. Considering the outbreaks that we've seen recently, like at Disneyland, with the measles, obviously an important issue, and one that I think was worthy of debate 50 years ago, and yet we are still in 2015 debating it. So we're going to cover today the people, including Republicans, who have come out in favor of vaccination and those who are still living in another century. But before we get to that, before we get to the politicians and the media pundits and things like that, we do want to play just a couple of quick clips from a member of the CDC stressing how important it is that you actually get your kids vaccinated. Here is the first clip of that CDC officer.
Numbers of measles cases going up. we are likely to see more cases. They're preventable. They're preventable by vaccine, and for places that haven't vaccinated, there's aggressive public health action to identify contacts, to isolate sick people, to quarantine people who've been exposed. But the best way to prevent measles is with vaccination.
Let's actually jump right into the next one where he expounds a little bit more on the importance of vaccination.
We have to make sure that measles doesn't get a foothold in the U.S. It's been actually eliminated from this country for 15 years.
Most of those cases are in individuals who have not been vaccinated. And what we see is a growing trend of parents who are getting what get these called personal belief exemptions. Do we need to reconsider those types of exemptions?
Well, the places around the country that really require that personal belief be something that's deeply held and long-standing have a much higher vaccination rate. But overall, we have a 92% vaccination rate in this country. And even among those parents whose kids have not been vaccinated, most of them don't have that deeply held concern. They just may not recognize that measles is still with us, that it's serious, and that not getting your kid vaccinated is not only a risk for your own kid, but puts other vulnerable kids in your community at risk.
Yeah, they may not be aware of the charts showing the number infected by the measles in America by decade, or the number who died per year after vaccination. You see the numbers just go down to almost nothing, to the point where it was considered eradicated from the U.S., but it is returning. So we're going to have some of those who are coming out in favor of vaccination first, but what do you think about the fact that this is a debate that we are actually having?
I really think that America for a good 200 years was doing this. Like, we really were getting somewhere. And rationalization and decency and education, it was all working. And something has happened in the last, it probably started around right after the Iraq War, I guess, somewhere around George W. Bush, maybe in the middle of it, where we're actually going backwards, that these things are even being debated. This is the same debate as global warming, where you can't say, I'm not a scientist, so I don't know. You have to believe in what the scientists are telling you. And we are having debate. This is complete lunacy.
I'm going to say that, you talk about we were inclining, now we're declining.
Yeah, we're going backwards on the same thing. We didn't get over the hump and going this way. We're just going back this way. Yeah.
And I would point to the day Fox News went on the air. I think that's when it all started to go the other way. Now we're debating shit we shouldn't be debating. Fucking vaccines. We're debating torture. We're debating, is science real or is it a conspiracy? Are scientists just in it for the money?
Is heat a thing?
Yeah, so that's what happened.
I tweeted this the other day, but I'm waiting for someone to say they don't believe in gravity.
Yeah. Well,
I don't believe in gravity, and science is out.
I believe in freedom to not believe. I believe in freedom to not believe.
Oh, we're going to have some of Rand Paul basically saying that exact same thing. Now, we do want to jump to some of the politicians who actually listen to the CDC. They may not be infectious disease experts, but they know people who are, and they listen to them. First here is a relatively powerful man, Barack Obama.
Do you feel there should be a requirement that parents get their kids vaccinated?
Measles is preventable. I understand that there are families that in some cases are concerned about the effect of vaccinations. The science is pretty indisputable. We've looked at this again and again. There is every reason to get vaccinated. There aren't reasons to not.
Are you telling parents you should get your kids vaccinated?
You should get your kids vaccinated. It's good for them, but we should be able to get back to the point where measles effectively is not existing in this country.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Can I just say, that clip right there is so why I'm over Obama. Something that is so obvious. I get it. He's saying do it. But it's with such reserve. I get why you wouldn't want to do it. It's with such, just apathy. No. He needs to just get out there and say, you have to get vaccinated. Sorry. That's it. This thing was gone. It's coming back. Do you want your kids going to Disneyland and getting sick? I mean, it's just so obvious. And his body language and just the general cadence with which he speaks as he's sitting there like this defeated, I'll sort of entertain both sides. The Republicans really got to him. They made this man into a broken guy who's afraid to say what he really thinks.
Yeah. I mean, we're not just talking about it kind of sucks to have measles. People die from measles still around the world. Thousands of people die every single year. It wasn't that long ago that there were something like 500 reported measles deaths per year in the United States, and it's estimated that there were 3 or 4 times that number that wasn't reported. It is still a disease that can kill people and is likely to kill people, since this debate is unlikely to change the minds of all the intransigent people on the right and on the left who refuse to listen to scientists and actually get their kids vaccinated. Yeah.
You know what they say?
Well, here's what I want. I want to find the houses of the parents who say, well, I don't know, there could be side effects. So I don't want to pump it into my kid's body. And I want to look at their pantries and see what food they're putting in their kids' bodies, and then talk to them about the side effects of some of those things. I know what my diet's like. I know that I'm increasing my chance of diabetes, cancer, heart disease, and things like that. I have a feeling that their kids probably don't have rock-hard chiseled abs. They're probably eating high fructose corn syrup. They're probably eating all sorts of chemicals, and yet a vaccine is seen as controversial.
Again, it's part of that. We're going backwards. I can't believe that we're really, but like in fact, that mealy-mouthed response by Barack Obama, which seemed pretty mealy. Like the reporter had to go, so what are you saying? The reporter had to go, would you fucking say it?
Right.
To the goddamn, tell them to get their kids fucking back. Would you just say it, you son of a bitch? For what? Stand up, there's fucking vaccine.
Wow, that is a good...
That was full-on purple, man. That was a full-on face change.
He sounds like almost every reporter on CNN and MSNBC.
So let's get to the idiots.
Yes. Oh, no. We've still got a couple people.
Oh, we got some more
smarties? We showed the president, but let's show someone with some political power. Here is John Boehner.
Well, I don't know that we need another law, but I do believe that all children ought to be vaccinated.
Okay. Wow. Even Boehner. He's on our side.
Pretty clear.
Boehner. Here's someone with some power in the media. Megyn Kelly.
My take is that every school district in the country should require immunization for measles. If you don't have it, your child can't go. Period. Do you oppose mandatory vaccinations for the children?
No, and
Okay,
I want to say on the
agree.
record, I have 3 children under the age of 6. I vaccinated all of them on time, as the doctor
About
prescribed.
90%.
Nothing was delayed. We did it as the doctor prescribed.
About 90% of Americans do the right thing. 10% don't.
But it's not enough.
Oh, it is.
It's not enough. What we need in these vaccinations is herd immunity or community immunity. So they're looking for about 95% of the community to be immune to protect all of us.
Right.
And it's starting to
But if you
dip below that number, even on something like measles, which is airborne.
Right, but if you have been vaccinated, you shouldn't panic because you're not going
You could get it, but you would get a milder form, is what they say.
Yeah, it's just almost like a cold. But the 10% can't go to school unless you get vaccinated. It's
More
pretty
and
easy.
more. This is going to be a big issue for these politicians going forward because it's about Big Brother. But on the other hand, some things do require some involvement of Big Brother.
Some things do.
Yeah, we should return to that with Megyn Kelly in the future. There are some other things, by the way, that also require Big Brother. But they've lost Fox News. They've lost Boehner.
Right. Think about that. Boehner, clear statement. Bill O'Reilly, regardless of what our feelings are about him personally and on every other issue, he said mandatory, period.
Yeah.
He made a statement. That is completely the reverse of what we saw the president do. So that shows it right there. That's why people watch Bill O'Reilly, because he made a statement. Usually we may not agree with what he's saying, but here he was saying, clear, that's it. And the president I could get why you don't want to make
Fox is being responsible on this issue. Now, not all of them. Sean Hannity had Rand Paul on his show last night. Didn't bring up Rand Paul's recent comments where he says the parents should have the option. Are you kidding to me that Sean Hannity does not have a strong attachment to vaccination? But at least Megyn Kelly and Bill O'Reilly, far more interesting and successful Fox hosts, they are down with vaccination.
What did Sean Hannity have Rand Paul on to talk about? His new haircut?
What word do you think Rand Paul is in the news for today?
Yeah.
Didn't merit a conversation.
Oh, he got Bill Cosby on to talk about his new line of T-shirts. What the fuck?
It's actually sleepwear.
Yeah, nice, Johnny.
That's awful. Okay,
now let's get to some of the idiots.
Wait, really fast. We have an idiot, but an idiot who is on the side of vaccination. So they have lost Boehner. They've lost Fox News. They don't even have crazy Ben Carson on their side. Ben Carson saying, although I strongly believe in individual rights and the rights of parents to raise their children as they see fit, I also recognize that public health and public safety are extremely important in our society. Certain communicable diseases have been largely eradicated by immunization policies in this country, and we should not allow those diseases to return by foregoing safe immunization programs for philosophical, religious, or other reasons when we have the means to eradicate them. He added that there are sometimes exceptional situations that would need to be addressed. So I don't know what that means. But largely, he is saying he is in favor of vaccination. Good job, Ben Carson. I now hope that you get the Republican nomination for that.
So even the guy who said that Obamacare is worse than slavery knows you should get your kids vaccinated.
Yeah.
So they can't even get that guy on board.
Yeah.
Nope.
I guess Ben Carson actually is a doctor. He just proved it with that statement right there.
Yes.
But you know, it's interesting. The Republicans, they have to do something weird here. Even Boehner said, we don't need a new law for it. He has to imply this implicit distrust of government.
Yeah.
So it's like they want to say, we hate government, we don't trust science, we don't trust government, we don't trust anybody. But they know that this one is real,
right?
And this is why they can't mess with it, because this is actually life or death.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why they're being forced into doing the right thing, even though they could play politics with it and gin up the base and be like, see, the government, the big government wants to stick your baby with a needle. But they're even doing the right thing here. So sometimes when they're doing the right thing, like, Obama, come on, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think. Can you trust the government on disease? Like, can you trust the CDC? I mean, look how they bungled Ebola. All over the place.
Look how Walking Dead started. Remember, something happened at the CDC.
Yeah.
And next thing you know.
Yeah, and it took years for that show to get good.
Yeah.
So I really want to sit through 3 or 4 seasons. I do like it now, though. Okay, so let's turn to the crazies to satisfy Jimmy Dore. Although there are some Republicans who are on the side of science and say that you should immunize your children against measles and other diseases with vaccines, many are not buying it, especially those running for the presidency in 2016. They were at the very least vacillating and not being clear about the need to vaccinate. We have a number of examples of that. Let's start in the House with Representative Sean Duffy.
So for me, I want that to be my choice as a parent. And you know what? I know my kids best. I know what morals and values are right for my children, and I think we should not have an oppressive state telling us what to do. Now, the community might say, well, Mr. Duffy, if you don't want to vaccinate your kids, you can't send them to school. That may be fair, but I do think we want to make sure we continue to let parents make these decisions for their kids. And I think it's a slippery slope when we start having the state getting so involved with our children. But I'll tell you, Jose, I think a lot of parents who are smart, they're well-read, they're some of the ones who are choosing not to vaccinate. And oftentimes those who may not be as well-read, they are vaccinating. So to say you just have a bunch of crackpots who are choosing not to do this with their children, I don't think that's actually true. You have well-read parents who are making this decision. You know, I pick and choose. I vaccinate my kids on most things, but there's some things I might go, you know what, this might not work for me and my values and my family. Let's not have the state come in and start being repressive and tell us how to raise our kids.
I'm not a religious person, but I don't understand what the statement, it doesn't fit. This particular vaccine doesn't fit with my morals and values.
I can tell you what he's talking about.
Tell me what.
He's talking about the HPV vaccine.
Oh, yes.
That's what he's talking about. Because they don't want to give the HPV vaccine to teenage girls because that's going to
dissolve their panties.
They're going to start fucking and they won't get a herpes from it, so that's shitty. So if you're going to fuck before you're married, you should get herpes. That's how they feel.
Cancer, by the way.
So that's what, by the way, that's what it's, yeah, well, isn't that what it's about? It's actually the HPV virus to stop cancer, right? So that's what it causes, right?
Yeah, cervical cancer.
So, I forgot what I was saying now.
That's okay. Look, it's just, he goes up there and he looks like an idiot saying that there's a particular chemical compound that was referenced in the Old Testament. Like, no, it's science. Leave it to the scientists. Leave it to the people who've been doing the research and let me remember.
So that's what that's all about, right? Even when they're against abortion, they're not so much against abortion. They're against women having sex outside of marriage and getting away with it.
Yeah.
So that's him being against the HPV vaccine is also that. It's against, you're not supposed to be able to have sex and get away with it. If you have sex, you're supposed to get cancer. Yeah, outside of that's what that really is. It's like that. Go ahead.
Well, you're totally right. That's why this shows you how religion mucks up public policy. Because he almost started that by saying something kind of honest. There was something intellectually honest at the beginning of what he said, which was, if I don't want my children to get it, then other people may say, well, then they shouldn't be allowed to go to school with them, and they would have a right to say that. And that at least is intellectually honest. He's saying, I have my beliefs, they have their beliefs. But then where he veers into this other part is where it really is coming down to this selective choice over what vaccine you want and why you would want it. And that's just religious. That's right, exactly. And that's where they go into this part that's based in either religion or just fear of science, and that should have nothing to do with our public discourse, but of course it has everything to do.
Yeah, and look, as they've sort of pointed out, and they might reference again, this is not just a thing of kooky right-wingers. There are certainly people on the left. I mean, the fact that it's in Disneyland implies that there are people living in LA who think that they know better. And as Duffy said, I mean, sometimes it's the more well-educated, the better read, who unfortunately start to read books that are filled up with New Age pseudoscience, and they don't believe in the need to vaccinate.
Can't we get Minnie Mouse?
Hillbillies.
Maybe we get Minnie Mouse or one of the rides. What's your favorite ride at Disneyland? What do you like?
I don't have one.
What do you like over at Disneyland? What do they got? What do they have at Disneyland these days? You all,
the Matterhorn.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Can't they get Mr. Toad? You put the kid on the ride, and Mr. Toad spins him around and whacks him with the vaccine. Then everyone, you know what I mean? Like that seems. Then it's win-win.
Yeah. Or you go in the big
Nobody
ball,
doing right.
you get the water, and it's just vaccine going all over. That could work.
Let's get more. You can do it on It's a Small World. After all, then it's a metaphor for how disease travels across borders. I mean, there's a lot you can do here.
Wow. Okay, so that's Sean Duffy. We do also have potential presidential contenders. Earlier this week, we had Chris Christie, who said that parents should have the option of getting vaccinated. Now, he received a lot of criticism for that, and immediately sent out a PR drone to say, well, he's not saying that he doesn't think you should. He thinks you should definitely get vaccinated. If that was the case, then don't talk about there being a choice, because then you imply that there is a choice. There is not a choice. Yes, they're not going to execute your child if he doesn't get vaccinated, but he needs to get vaccinated. Stop acting as if, some people like chocolate, some people like white chocolate. You can choose either. You can't, you'll get measles.
When Chris Christie sits around the house, he really says some stupid shit about vaccines. How about that? It's weird. It's weird to see Chris Christie. He rejects Jenny Craig, but he embraces Jenny McCarthy, which is kind of weird. That's right. And he's also against. I can't believe he's against the medical procedure that involves lollipops at the end. Right? Let's get a lollipop with a vaccine. Chris Christie's against it. Anyway. That's why Chris Christie's idea.
No, that was good. You're setting them up and whacking them down.
Is he your favorite politician? I think that he might.
He is my favorite politician.
Yes, good. Especially around Thanksgiving. So here is Rand Paul. We actually have a video of him expressing doubt about how important vaccination is.
But I just have to begin by asking, did you really just say to Laura Ingraham that you think most vaccines in this country should be, quote, voluntary?
Well, I guess being for freedom would be really unusual. I guess I don't understand the point. Why that would be controversial.
Senator, maybe you're not aware, but there's a huge problem right now with Disney theme parks having to close down because of mumps. Not enough children being vaccinated against measles, mumps, and rubella because their parents, for whatever reason, have decided that it is voluntary.
I don't think there's anything extraordinary about resorting to freedom. I'll give you a good example. The hepatitis B vaccine is now given to newborns. We sometimes give 5 and 6 vaccines all at one time. I chose to have mine delayed. I don't want the government telling me that I have to give my newborn hepatitis B vaccine, which is transmitted by sexually transmitted disease and or blood transfusions. Do I think it's ultimately a good idea? Yeah. So I had mine staggered over several months. I've heard of many tragic cases of walking, talking, normal children who wound up with profound mental disorders after vaccines. I'm not arguing vaccines are a bad idea. I think they're a good thing. But I think the parents should have some input. The state doesn't own your children. Parents own the children, and it is an issue of freedom.
It's always sad when you're reminded of what the Paul family is actually like. They come out and they'll say an intelligent thing. They'll say something about foreign policy that makes sense. That they think that the government perhaps shouldn't be propping up the most profitable corporations in the history of the country. But then you realize, they don't believe in science or reason either.
Yeah,
they're just sort of accidentally right from time to time.
He believes in freedom and parents' right to choose, unless it comes to a woman's body and the right to choose an abortion or to carry a baby to term. Then, other than that, not so much for freedom.
Right. To frame this around freedom, it's just silly. The government's not taking your children away from you or forcing them into slave labor camps. They're trying to vaccine them so that other children won't get sick and that they won't get sick. So that's number one. But you make a good point, I think, about what Rand Paul does. So he says that part, which is crazy. I think freedom's a good choice. That's nothing. You're not saying anything. You're just saying words. You're just putting words together. But then he makes an interesting scientific point, which is that the 5 or 6 vaccines, that perhaps getting them spread out over the course of a year, I don't know the science behind this, but perhaps there is some science that would prove that, and I think this is what he's saying, that if you did that, then there would be less chance of there being some conflict or some weird thing happening after that leads to these mental problems that he's talking about. So maybe there's some science there, in which case then maybe we could have laws passed that you don't get all the 5 or 6 at once, but you get them over the course of the year. So we could have a debate about that. But he says that couched within, I think freedom's good, so do whatever the hell you want to do.
I think that we don't. I don't think we have time to show the Sanjay Gupta video, but he talks about that there's a 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million chance of some sort of medical consequence to getting the vaccine. But if what Rand Paul is trying to imply there is that getting the vaccine will give your kid autism, that is one of the stupidest but most repeated fallacies in modern day politics. It is based almost entirely off of one repeatedly discredited scientific study from literally decades ago. It's fine for Jenny McCarthy to make a career off of spouting that, but Rand Paul is supposed to be more responsible. He's supposed to be more reasonable. And I just don't want you to think that, although, look, it might be fine for his family who can afford to take the time off to go to the doctor repeatedly over and over, but what he's saying is going to lead people who do not have those resources to totally discount vaccines, and that's the danger I see in it.
By the way, real quick on Jenny McCarthy,
and he gets the vaccines, by the way. His kids get the vaccines.
Right. Well,
it's ridiculous for him to encourage poor people to not get the vaccines because his kids are getting the best possible medical treatment.
Well, I don't know that he said that they shouldn't get them, but he did make that odd freedom
he
thing.
Says you might have mental problems as the result of it. That can only lead to more people saying, I don't know, I'll consider it next year.
Real quick on Jenny McCarthy, she is against the vaccines, and yet she has no problem doing commercials for e-cigarettes, which cause all kinds of health problems. So,
but not autism.
But you said you get right, but not autism. But if you get paid enough, we can all figure out how to decide when and if you think you're going to get someone.
So does she really
sick.
do that?
Yeah, literally right
this
now.
This is about freedom, okay? And when Rand Paul sees a kid with measles, he's like, look at those liberty spots.
Exactly.
It's a market-based
liberty spots.
Yeah. Okay. Rand Paul. Yeah, and look, I think that as the presidential campaign, especially the Republican nominating process, ramps up, you're going to see, as you have the establishment Republicans, but then you have the crazy wing that Rand Paul is, I think, going to be forced to compete in. They're going to be spouting more and more nonsense like this. We sort of expect it here at TYT. You guys are politically savvy. You expect it too. But when it crosses into the territory of getting regular, well-meaning Americans to endanger the lives of their children and other children that live near their children, that's where it becomes more dangerous and I would say unacceptable.
If they want to protect the children, the Republicans are against teaching evolution in school.
Mm-hmm.
They're against HPV vaccine. They're against these vaccines. They're against science and kind of in general. Is there a way we could put a child-proof cap on the GOP?
I think they find a way through. Thank you. Yeah, there's a 1% chance. But we do have to take our first break. When we come back, we've got Don Lemon with a little bit more ridiculous social media activity. Oh, poor Don Lemon. He's back on the show again. And then we have Jeb Bush's massive marijuana hypocrisy. Oh, and tweet us at #TYT Live. We'll read some after we come back from this break.
It's a game. Because
Welcome back to the first hour of the Young Turks. It's Dave, Jimmy, and John. Cenk, you were out until Monday. Friday. And after this first hour is over, Dave will be taking over for a second hour. Now, as I said, we're going to read some of your hashtag TYT lives. I know that Dave has some. I have one I want to read, a little bit controversial, a little bit interesting. Let's see, where is it? John Connor says, it's a crime to infect people with HIV/AIDS. It should be the same for people who don't vax their kids. Because that's the interesting thing. Like, we're all talking about the parental choice, but the kids don't have any choice. It's not like the kid is going to walk to the doctor himself. He relies on his parents to take care of him.
I've always said unborn children need lobbyists to prevent being injected right when they get out of the womb. Giselle Grenette says, "Why does Rubin Report keep trashing e-cigs?" If there's anything that I've said wrong about e-cigs, I will gladly retract it. Link me to something. E-cigs can't be good for you. I'm pretty sure they're not good for you. Are you willing to join me on that?
I'm with you.
Yeah, there's got to be something bad about it.
Well, let's provide at least a little bit of balance. Don't smoke regular cigarettes either. It's terrible for you.
I'm willing to make that concession.
My brother uses a lot of e-cigs. I'm sure that there is some advantage. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that they're both bad for you. Roar says, John Boehner doesn't want another law because that's his job and he's lazy. I like that. It's like Occam's razor. It's a very simple explanation. Right. I don't think he wants to legislate at all.
Jimmy, Princess Paulius likes the way that you apply your makeup during the commercial break.
I forget. I always forget to put on a little powder to take the shine off, and then all of a sudden we'll start doing the show, and I'm like, "Oh, look how nice Dave's makeup looks. He's not shiny. Oh, I forgot to put my makeup on." Yeah. So then in between, I tried. Did you forget?
But I have shiny self, sure. And Nate M. Sanchez says, "Give me freedom or give me measles." Although I would probably tweak that to "Give me freedom and give me." Yeah, because you're more likely to get it too. It's a package deal, actually.
Yeah, one
in Rand Paul's America.
One more that I fully buy into this. Daddy's Got Mad says, speaking of devolution, if you look at Congress and the senators, I would say they're only 1 or 2 generations from becoming chimps. That's sort of insulting to chimps, but, you know.
That's not fair. Some of them look far more like tortoises, actually. They're slightly removed from the Galapagos.
There's one Republican leader.
Exactly, yes. We'll look for a picture. Okay, let's do just a little tiny bit more vaccine talk. This one is a little bit lighter. CNN's Don Lemon wanted to get a discussion going on Twitter about the measles vaccine, and so he decided to spur that conversation by tweeting this. It is a shirtless selfie photo, but close up. It says, "My measles shot scar from childhood. Do we still need it?" Doctors answer on CNN tonight. Use vaccine cues. Yes, many cues about the vaccine. They are easy to answer. Should you get them? Yes, you should get them. That scar's from the measles vaccine? Turns out it's not.
No, it's not.
That's where the controversy
That's the funny part.
Oh. It is not, in fact, from it. It is, let's bring up the second tweet. It's almost certainly the case that it's a smallpox scar, not from measles, mumps, and rubella. Measles, mumps, and rubella does not scar.
So it's a smallpox vaccine scar?
Yes.
Oh.
He did not have.
He didn't have smallpox.
As far as I know, I don't know the guy. No, so it is from a vaccine, not from measles. So he's getting a lot of criticism. Let's bring up this next one just because it's a little bit funny. MMR vaccine doesn't leave a scar, but nice shirtless selfie, OP. So that's kind of funny. So, there's thousands of those, by the way.
Do you have that scar from smallpox?
I don't know.
I don't have it.
Try not to look at my naked body.
I don't know. I don't have it. Do you have it?
No, I don't know. We could get naked during the commercial break.
Okay. Does everyone here on the crew have one?
There were some members of the crew who do have it. We saw.
Okay. I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily has to scar, but in any event,
okay, maybe
he's getting a lot of criticism here. I think that if you're going to criticize Don Lemon here, you should criticize him for the text, not for the picture, because he says, "Do we still need it?" Doctors answer. I understand you need people to actually watch the show, but I want Saved You a Click on Twitter to just be like, "Yeah, you need it." Doctors answer, "You need it." They're not going to have tons of doctors on and say, "I think it'd be interesting to have a little debate, maybe choose." No, you need it. And so in that case, he's doing his job by getting people to watch the show, but he could do his job as a human being by saying, "Get your kids vaccinated."
Yeah. Look, he made a mistake. It's as simple as that. I can't jump on it for this one.
And he did eventually tweet out, "Okay, yes, it is from that." I don't think that he was lying. I think that he made a mistake.
Can I say that about Don Lemon? Now, I've been, the first guy to attack Don Lemon when he does something that's stupid. But this is the kind of stupid thing that I would also do. So
totally, I would do it.
Right. Totally let him.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because there's been times when I've tweeted things and accidentally attached the wrong picture.
Yeah.
The other day I tweeted something and I meant to have a picture of Fred Flintstone, and I actually attached a screen capture from a text with my mom. Like, you make mistakes on these things. I know this wasn't a mistake in that regard. It was an actual factual mistake, but shit happens.
And what was the tweet about Fred? Look at this blockhead.
No, I had a joke, something about Fred Flint. Yeah, something about big ribs. It was a giant thing of ribs.
Well, this is where the picture of it comes in. There's a scar on his arm, and he says everyone's going to get when you get the measles shot, which hasn't been said by anyone, obviously, because it's untrue. So it's a silent argument against getting shot.
Scar your children.
Yeah. Do you want to have this blistering scar on your child and your 2-year-old? Do you really want that? Is this necessary? Should we stop doing it? It's all within that same vein. And not that he meant to. No one knows what was in his brain. It was a publicity tweet. We know that. But we already see where you're leaning on this, and it's useless.
It could be. I mean, he's also, I think, to play devil's advocate, he's showing, look, I got it. I'm still alive. And in fact, I'm even a host on TV. I think it's sort of a mixed bag. I think that people are always ready to attack Don Lemon. He should be a little bit more responsive. I don't know about that.
I don't know that it shows which way he's leaning, but I think it shows that he wants people to watch.
Yeah,
he wants people to watch. He's a television person. We would, if people weren't watching this, we would do things differently. All of these people want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. I agree with JR's point, but if they want to be seen, it's as simple.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on Don Lemon, but he seems okay, at least in terms of the vaccination, and hopefully going forward, he will just tweet out, and by the way, you should probably get it vaccinated. In fact, do that afterward. Have them watch the show, and then tweet out, just get your kids vaccinated. Best of both worlds, I think. Okay, mixing it totally up, but still a little bit on the 2016 presidential race news. Former Governor Jeb Bush today is against marijuana legalization, even for medicinal use. That's today. But in the past, he had a little bit more nuanced opinion, at least according to people who went to high school and college with him, who were saying that he was a bully and also a gigantic pot smoker. So we have some quotes from some of his former classmates. One says, "The first time I really got stoned was in Jeb's room. He had a portable stereo with removable speakers. He put on Steppenwolf for me." I don't know where the story goes after that, but we're gonna end with Steppenwolf. Other former classmates described him as physically imposing and said he sometimes bullied smaller students. Let's see. Then former Governor Jeb Bush, an actual quote from him, says, "I drank alcohol and I smoked marijuana when I was at Andover. It was pretty common." So he admits the use of it earlier in life. Understand, he is saying that not while in a prison cell. He did not, in fact, go to jail for decades because of his pot use. Interesting that. Now talking about the bullying, though, he says, "I don't believe that it's true. It was 44 years ago. And it's not possible for me to remember."
So he was smoking pot very much like Michael Brown from Ferguson was also smoking pot. I wonder if he killed any cops.
Yeah. He does look a little bit like a thug in this picture back here. Look at that pot.
Pot makes you, it makes you violent. It makes you rob convenience stores and then punch cops in the face.
Yeah, and it makes your death irrelevant, too.
Yeah, and makes your death, so if somebody would have killed him when he was high on pot, but a cop would have shot him when he was unarmed, 6 times, twice in the head, it would have been totally justifiable because he's a pothead.
Yeah. Anthony Cumia would have been talking about how much of a thug he is.
Yeah.
Sure. Constantly about it.
And how he's not human. He's not human.
Yeah, and by the way, let's say he's not only a pothead, he was a violent bullying pothead. So he'd get all riled up on the drugs, on the pot, and then he'd go and he'd bully people. So he was actually violent too, and so perhaps they're onto something with the thug comments.
I want to be very clear about 2 things in this segment. Number one, I'm 100% against Bush ever being in the White House again, and that actually goes for Clinton too. If we could pass a law, I'm against Bush as a rule. You see what he did there? That was a gay joke. Yeah, I just don't think we should have these dynasties, these people. He's very impressed with himself. That's number one. Number two is I'm actually going to defend Jeb Bush here. I smoked an incredible amount of pot in college. I did plenty of other drugs. Whether he bullied people or not, the whole point of going to college is to experiment with drugs, with sex, with your mind, all of that shit. So he did exactly what we all did, hopefully. I'm pretty sure you did a little of that in college, right? Johnny, you probably did.
You know what? I did not smoke pot in college.
Definitely not with the second one.
Not with the sex? Not with the sex?
I use my mind.
The mind, okay. You did, but you know what I mean? So I think it's really silly for things like Talking Points Memo and all that, for them to go to the gutter with this kind of stuff.
Well, wait, can I provide the counterpoint?
No, please, go ahead.
I mean, it's not, oh, look at him, he smoked pot and now he doesn't. That's hypocritical. It's hypocritical that he, growing up and in college, used it, and now he's saying, if you use it, you should go to jail. And if you're dying of a terminal illness, I won't even let you use it to ease the last few days of your life.
Okay, so that's part of hypocrisy. Yes, and that's totally legit. And when he was governor of Florida, he strengthened those laws against pot. Plenty of people in jail that are still in jail now. Is he still against medical marijuana? I think
the most recent information I find is that he's still against it. It's possible that in the 8 years since he was governor that he might have shifted on it.
Right.
But when he had government power, he was against it. And he wants to be the leader of the entire country, a country which is changing on those very laws. Would you trust a man who, when he had authority, was against it, to be the president now? That I don't know.
So that's the question they should have asked Barack Obama. They should have asked George Bush. They should have asked Joe Biden. Everybody. So when do you think you should be in prison because you smoked pot when you were in college?
Yeah.
No, you don't think you should. Then how could you be putting other people in? You're the chief law enforcement officer, which is the president, the chief law enforcement officer in the country. Why are you now for unequal enforcement of the law, right? Because so now you should be let go because you're president, but other kids who don't have the resources, the legal resources, they should do time for something you look as a childish indiscretion.
They're spitting in the face of law enforcement by continuing to walk free. They're showing that they don't have respect for the law. I think that if they want to be pro-law enforcement, it would be a very strong signal, go to jail now.
You know, like,
go to jail now. That would show that you respect the police in those states.
Well, Jenny, I know you're being funny, but that's the truth. I mean, that would show a little consistency. How could we sit here right now with people in jail for doing the exact same thing you did and admit to doing a lot of it, and we have people doing time for it right now, and you don't have a problem with it. Like that that breeds disrespect for the law. That's hypocritical. It's unfair. It's unequal enforcement of the law, which is against the Constitution. So you're completely okay with violating the Constitution, but you're not okay with people smoking pot. So why don't they hold their feet to the fire like they did with Barack Obama's birth certificate? Like they kept bringing that shit. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see the news media not let them get away with not answering this question directly.
Right. Okay. So I think that hits on what I was saying about talking boys level. When they bring up this shit about you smoke pot in college, you bullied some dude, that's just taking it to a place that it's just irrelevant and it doesn't matter. If they were focusing on that, what you're saying, if they were focusing on the laws that you put in place, you put people in jail for doing the exact same shit that you did. Now we have a real story. So I'm glad we're at least framing it that way.
Okay.
But my guess is that Jeb Bush and most of the Republicans, except for the real guys on the real far right or the Tea Party guys, they're all going to come around on at least medical marijuana for 2016. We already saw Chris Christie do it in New Jersey. He got dragged to it because of that poor girl, that 4-year-old girl that had these awful seizures, and then they said that
he did come around.
So he did come around in these special cases with kids, and they can do edibles. But at least that's something. But my point is that in a year and a half from now, I think they're all going to realize it, like gay marriage. It's not that they believe in gays or care about gays or have empathy, but they want to win elections. Everyone wants to win.
Yeah. So
get down with gays and weed, and we'd have a better country.
Because Chris Christie, the last thing I heard him say on that was like, "I'm done talking about medical marijuana. I'm done. It's not going to happen." Didn't he say that? Yeah. I'm one of those things, like one of those I'm done. Those 4-year-olds, fuck them with their cancer. I'm done, right? Didn't he do one of those? And the thing is,
apparently he turned. Isn't it funny though that the one special case he turned on was edibles? I'm surprised you missed the word edibles.
I fucking missed that joke. The thing is, because that's the thing about pot. The only thing, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway,
that's the thing about pot, actually.
I'll say something about pot from another comedian, George Carlin, who said pot is the one drug that everyone that smokes pot eventually stops by their own volition. People just stop.
Yes.
You're not addicted in a way that you constantly need more, and people aren't out on the streets and losing their jobs because of pot. And of course, you may not be the most productive person on pot, and you may watch too much TV and blah, 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 and all the jokes about food. But most people with pot, eventually, you're like, I've had all the thoughts I'm going to have, and you move on.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Like, for instance, I'm
buying your time there, man.
No, I took 2 months. Here's the thing about, I try to tell people about, even with my therapist, because he's a recovered alcoholic, whatever. And I'm trying to tell him that, pot is a different thing. I go, when you were an alcoholic, because he's trying to tell me pot's the same. And I'm like, well, often I'll be like at the end of the night getting ready to go to bed and go, oh shit, I forgot to smoke pot today. Like I was too busy. I had shit to do, and I didn't smoke pot. Oh, maybe I'll go, oh, I forgot to buy pot. I don't have any pot. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get it tomorrow. And then I forget. Would you ever do that with alcohol? Would you ever do that with heroin? Would you ever go, oh, fuck, I forgot to do heroin today. Right. Well, I guess I'll go to sleep, and I'll get something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. So
actually, if you were an alcoholic and you couldn't find alcohol, you would do what Dukakis' wife did, which was be drinking rubbing alcohol from your freaking...
you drink aftershave because it's got fucking alcohol in it. That's how crazy addicts are. You wouldn't drink aftershave because it had a little THC in it. You'd be like, what the fuck, I'm going to go to sleep.
Right. You don't start smoking actual grass.
Yeah, maybe I'll bump into a friend tomorrow who has a joint. Maybe you're not gonna do it. So that's the big difference between and the fact that we still do this shows how broken. Well, you know what? It has made a lot of strides recently. I thought, just like Lenny Bruce said, that marijuana. He said this in the 60s. He goes, I know it's going to be legal soon because all my friends in law school are smoking, right? But they all grew up to be fucking conservatives, and now it took this other way.
Switch over to coke.
Not anymore. So anyway, now it's like the millennials are making this happen for us. Is that what? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It does seem to be shifting a lot, and we don't have time to go into too much detail. But in the $4 trillion budget that President Obama sent to Congress, it does actually provide for the option of D.C. using its own funds to actually put into effect the legalization of marijuana that they voted for a few months ago. So that is good, and it's something that the Republicans are almost certainly going to try to shoot down. We do have to end the hour. When we come back, we're going to have Dave leading us through a second hour. Before we go to the break, though, I want to recognize two of our members Member number 4250, Corey Joseph. And member number 564, Evan Samuels. Thank you for supporting us. And you can also support us by continuing to tweet with the hashtag TYT Live, and we'll read a few when we come back from this break.
Usually they help us run our show. Now they're going to help us run the country.
Like this.
It's time that we reclaim democracy for the people.
We had a huge victory for Wolfpack.
When Lincoln said this was a country by, of, and for, he said of the people, not of corporations.
Our representatives don't represent us. Whoa! Democracy!
United!
We are! We are! Too strong! Stop! There's thousands of volunteers, and you could be among them.
With Wolfpack, the mission is so clear.
Money is killing our democracy. 96% of Americans want it. When you get the power back, oh, that feels good. This is just the beginning. Let's go get them, man. Up and at them. Knock, knock. We're coming for them! Wolf-pack.com.
How you doing, people? This is the Rubin Report, and according to the paperwork, I am Dave Rubin.
There's nothing in the world that's more expensive than insecurity.
Politicians are politicians. They're bought out.
I co-sign all that. Congress has a lower approval rating than chlamydia.
It's crazy.
The president, no matter who it is, it's the same shit.
There are a lot of special interests at play here.
You liberal elitists.
Yeah, Republicans work against their best interests.
Why would you want to be that high? Something that grows out of the earth is illegal. Yeah. I'm going to shake my fist at the floor. YouTube saves lives. We're saving lives, people. Right now.
Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz with TYT Sports. Here's what I think of Washington NFL owner Dan Snyder. I invented the word jackbag with Dan Snyder in mind.
You ready for this? Spurs in 5. That's mental, right? Watch. Rodriguez. He's back in the game. Can he do anything here? He's taking no prisoners. He's going to go all the way, and he's got it.
You know, I never told you guys about my younger twin brothers, and I thought I'd introduce them to you today. My brothers, Henrik and Joel.
The moral argument is, what do you tell your kids, right?
Tell your kids, I'm trying to win my fantasy football league, so I picked up Saddam Hussein. I know he's massacred people.
I fucking signed Uday.
Come on, the Rosie had the chance to beat.
Really?
Hell no.
What I think Neymar is good as a front striker. Partner him with Suarez and just have Messi do whatever he wants to do. If he wants to go and get a burger, let him. If he wants to go and have a drink at the side, let him do it as long as he can bang in the goals.
It is illogical. It's 100% wrong. It is indefensible. Anyone who makes an argument in defense of Kobe Lewis has never seen a baseball game or doesn't understand what baseball is.
Doesn't matter what your opinion is, as long as you have one. Subscribe to TYT.
What's up, people? Welcome to hour 2 of TYT Live. I'm still Dave. Jimmy, John, we've got some hashtag TYT Lives for you, and then we'll jump into the second hour. I'm not going to retweet this because it's very disturbing, but Steel Hamster tweeted a picture of what measles looks like if you don't get vaccinated, and it's rather upsetting.
Yeah. Oh, really?
So you can
tag me in that.
You want to see that one? There you go. Take a look. It's not pretty.
Oh,
yeah, that's
almost as bad as the scar from the vaccine.
Yeah, that's how lemons go. Yeah, what else we got?
It looks itchy. It really looks itchy. I'll tell you that. Like, you got to get a back scratcher till it's bleeding.
Paper Madness says, maybe Rand Paul isn't talking about freedom for us. Maybe he wants freedom for measles. He wants to let it out of its cage. That's pretty good.
Nice.
There you go.
Let's see. Dorf on TYT says, Jeb Bush being against weed is like the Keebler elves being against cookies. I don't know that he grew weed, but that's an interesting comparison. I also liked, let's see, Dorf on TYT says,
I don't think the Keebler elves actually made the cookies, by the way.
Did they not make the cookies?
I'm pretty sure it was made in a factory, and the elves were just the front men for the whole thing. Yeah, yeah.
See, they get all the credit.
They didn't live in that tree. That was all bullshit.
That was bullshit?
The elves did not live in the tree. The elves did not live
Whether
in the
they
tree.
live there or not,
That was commercial branding.
I don't think the government should force them to wash their hands. We didn't get time to play that clip, but
where's the truth in advertising?
Right? No, you thought the elves lived in the tree.
Don't we have an FCC that's supposed to be on it? I'm walking around telling my kids that Keebler elves live in a tree and they make fudge cookies.
You can't believe everything you see in cartoons.
Shoot.
Okay. But anyway, what have we got for the second hour?
We're not going to do the hand washing story?
We got to move on to the
yeah. During the post game, I'll tell you about the truth about the Oompa Loompas, because that's
I would love to know.
That's going to really freak you out. But all right, let's move on to hour 2. Randy Quaid, you may remember Randy Quaid from such movies as Christmas Vacation, Uncle Eddie. He was also in Independence Day and many other films. He basically has gone off the deep end. He was sort of half off the grid for a while. Now he's been up in Canada, and he just released a video that was put up on YouTube. It has since been removed, but we have it. And he just, well, take a look.
Hi, I'm Randy Quaid, and this is my wife, Evie. I helped media giants News Corp and Warner Brothers Entertainment earn well over $1 billion for the films Independence Day and Christmas Vacation. What did I get in return? A Warner Brothers exec, Bruce Berman, stole my house. And News Corp's The New York Post continues to smear me to high heaven with a pack of lies. For good measure, Warner Brothers even had my wife and I falsely arrested 6 times by TMZ. No, for real. That's really how it works. Hashtag PMC. Police media corruption. Ba-dum! So, Rupert, you want to fuck me? I'm gonna fuck you. Evie, put this on. Maybe you'll thank me for this. Oh, yeah. Together, Rupert. Yeah, together, Rupert. Together, we'll wipe out police media corruption. Yeah, Rupert. Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, that just ruined Independence Day for me.
Okay, so to be clear, just to clarify a couple of things that happened in that video, it appears to be that that's not to be funny. That is not a parody of any kind. These are real feelings and thoughts that he's having. The video has since been taken down, as I said. 2 other quick points. He and his wife are currently suing the U.S. State Department for return of their passports that were revoked 3 years ago. So he hasn't been to the United States in 3 years. He was also kicked out of the Actors Equity Union after performers in Seattle play claimed that he was threatening them. So he really has gone off the deep end here. There have been a lot of stories about possible drug use with he and his wife, that they're in all kinds of financial trouble.
I don't think so.
So as we were watching this, we were all. you think they're on the up and up?
No, he's got his shit together. You kidding me? That's he's wearing that beard. He's wearing that for a new movie called The Fucking Crazies.
To be released only in Canada.
Only in Canada and parts of Guam.
I mean, this guy really, you don't really get evidence of like someone that you think really going off the deep end, but this is true.
Yeah. My main criticism is something that a lot of people do. When you do this, you question the thing that you're doing it, and if you're the one pushing the hashtag, don't do that, because now you make me think that it doesn't actually exist. But I feel a little bit uncomfortable with this because clearly, regardless of whatever else has happened in his life, he has some mental troubles.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel bad, and especially because growing up, I loved him as Cousin Eddie. Great in Independence Day. I remember here, commenters, feel free to attack me. I teared up once during his final scene in Independence Day, and then he yelled it out right there, and I don't want to watch it anymore. But
you know what he does? You know how he saves the world, Jimmy?
No,
in Independence Day?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see Independence Day?
No.
Yeah. He flies his plane right into the gut of the alien ship, thus causing a massive explosion.
Yeah. And that was symbolic. He was flying.
That's where he got the brain damage to start with, I think.
Yeah.
What happened? So do we know what his problem is? I never. I know he's been arrested.
In a couple of big movies, obviously, and some people. Yeah, he was in great movies. Kingpin too.
Kingpin's one of the best comedies in history.
You don't get more movies. You have trouble with money. You feel like people have turned their back on you, that they've backstabbed you, and you go a little bit crazy. And so he's going a little bit crazy.
Yeah. By the way, I said rumors of drug use before. Obviously, I don't know it for a fact, but you could Google it, and people say that there was some meth use and things like that. So he may have really, gone off the deep end with drugs.
Here's what I know. And also, he can't arrest you. I know that's the case. They cannot actually arrest you. Perhaps a citizen's arrest. So look, he's got mental problems, and so that's why I feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like, he's the one putting it out there. That's true. It's not like somebody went up and interviewed him and he sounded crazy. He's doing it on his own. But I feel bad for him, and I hope that he's able to find help.
By the way, not only was his passport revoked by the State Department, but there is also a $500,000 warrant on he and his wife, which is why they fled to Canada in the first place in 2010 for a trial on vandalism and residential burglary charges. Yeah. So, there's been some other crime here too. It's just the whole thing.
So we don't know. But again, what? So
we don't know the initial.
Yeah, so how did they... I did hear that about he was in some kind of legal battle with Warner Brothers. Do we know what that was about? And what did he mean when he said that they took his house 6 times?
I think they mean that he probably means that he hasn't received the money that he thinks that he deserves, and so he couldn't afford the house. I think that's probably the root of that. Again, speculation.
I mean, he was in Kingpin, and I can't believe that you'd have to do anything else in your life besides just do that movie. I mean, that movie... Top 5 comedies of all time. It's got Bill Murray in it. Oh no,
it does have Bill Murray.
Laugh out loud. Oh my God!
I just watched Groundhog Day yesterday. I prefer that for Bill Murray.
Oh, I enjoyed Groundhog Day. Sure. Yeah. But it's not. I don't know if it's funnier than Kingpin. By the way, so this is what I don't get. Like, what? The show doesn't even mean nothing. You have to do big movies. Where's his money? I don't understand what's wrong with him.
I don't know what he made for those movies, but you can blow a lot of money, especially in LA. You want to?
Yeah, you can blow a lot of money, and in both things, he wasn't the star of either one. I mean, Will Smith was the star of one, and Chevy Chase was the star of the other. So you're an ancillary guy.
Well, he was.
Christmas Vacation probably there wasn't a huge budget movie.
He was big. He had a big part in that. He was central.
Yeah. He had a tiny part in Brokeback Mountain. I mean, the guy's done some stuff, but who knows? We could all blow a lot of money.
I mean, I think he's a good actor. I can't believe he's got great comedy chops. I can't believe that he can't get work. It's great. He was drugs. Got to be right. Probably. Yeah. Okay, so that's a guess.
But speculation.
That's a guess.
All right, let's move down to Florida because we know there's always interesting things happening in Florida, and now it appears that the state's political will could be left up to rapper Pitbull. That's right, Republicans really want Pitbull in their corner for the 2016 election. Of course, he is of Cuban descent. That's going to be a big part of what's going on. There's a picture of Pitbull right there, of what's going on with the electoral process. In 2016, his real name is Armando Perez, and we've got a couple of quotes here. This is from Republican strategist Ann Navarro. She said, "I saw Armando at a party in Miami the other night and immediately started selling him on Jeb," speaking of Jeb Bush. "It'd be professional negligence not to. Armando is Mr. 305, and well, that's Jeb's area code too. Doesn't that sound hip right there?" Then Representative Anatieri Flores from Florida, she said, "Who wouldn't want Pitbull he can't just get us votes in the 305. He can get us votes worldwide. Jimmy, we're going to have you explain what the 305 is in just a second.
Really fast.
Yes.
Citizens of foreign countries aren't allowed to vote in the U.S.
Let's not confuse the Republicans.
Yeah, we may lose America, but the Himalayas.
Yeah, it's.
I don't think that works.
Right. Okay. So next up, a Democratic congressional aide said this. He said, "Pitbull, a Latino icon, siding with anti-immigrants. Sorry, I simply can't picture that with Kodak." Kodak used to be a picture company, by the way, folks.
Yes, I know
what that means. So even the Democrats sometimes aren't so on the hip references that the kids are all, it's like Snapchat for the old people. And finally, Pitbull had this to say when he heard about all these rumors about how people want him to join the political party, join the Republicans. He said, "I'm not here to be part of any political party. I'm here to bring political parties to my party because they can't, they won't, they never will stop the Pitbull party down."
What's Dale?
Oh, Dale. See, now, I proved my whiteness and my unhipness with that.
Kodak moment.
Yeah, Kodak. That was my Kodak moment. I mean, this is just so silly. But this really shows the state of America and the state of politics and media and music. Like, they really think getting Pitbull involved could tip Florida.
Well, I understand why they so badly want a singer. It's because every time they have like a big campaign rally, they come out there and they play some song in the background, and then the next day you hear the singer ask them, "Please don't use my music anymore."
Right.
Like Bruce Springsteen, I mean Billy Joel, the list goes on and on. They don't want you to use their songs, Republicans. Although I can't imagine them coming out to a Pitbull song.
You think it's funny?
Say something, Jared?
Yeah, that was a very political answer that Pitbull gave, which to me indicates she got him. He's totally supportive.
Really?
No, I mean, come on, someone asks you, you go, "I'm not one party or another. I'm part of both my party and bring everybody to mine." Dale! Come on, dude, that's bullshit. That's a bunch of just. You don't want anyone to know that you're on their side, or you don't really know what was said to you, and you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know who Jeb Bush is. It's one of the two. It was a deflecting answer.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, like, I can think of some musicians who've been sort of affiliated with the Democratic Party, perhaps, but I don't know that I know of a successful, like, mainstream singer who's, like, when you think of him, you think Republican.
Right, that's
like,
funny.
He doesn't want that association.
Right, you do hear this constantly, that Republicans use songs from people, and then you hear the next day that the musician is like, I don't want to be associated with that. I'm trying to think, who do the Republicans, who are their go-to people, like a Kid Rock, I guess, or who else? Maybe a Ted Nugent. But who, like I remember Bill Clinton in '92, he was using Fleetwood Mac. Like there's certain ones that they always go to.
Went his own way.
There you go. Lee Greenwood, proud to be an American. That could be a good one. Yeah.
He likes to use born in the USA, which it doesn't mean at all what they think it means.
Right.
But also, really fast, I think this is interesting, that the weird hypocrisy here, that we've heard a couple of prominent Republicans talking about how bad of an example like Beyonce is, and like, how can you guys listen to this music that glorifies sex, not just sex, but casual sex outside of marriage? Pitbull, that's what he does. Like, is he not a proponent of those exact things that you think are so offensive and objectionable? Or is it only when Beyonce sings the lyrics?
Wait, for the record, what does Dale mean?
I have no idea.
Go! But is that how you say no? How do you...
I have no idea.
What about andale?
That's his.
Oh, that's his go.
That's his
he just made it up. It's his own...
All his songs have that. It's like Little John. That's his.
Oh, okay.
It's like Little John's. Yeah.
With foot night.
Yeah. I've never felt lighter. But I do right now. I feel incredibly white right now.
I like how they say that he's trying to take the track of the. It's good that the Republicans and Democrats are both trying to get Latinos to vote for them. That's good. They're coming after us. And then she says that he's not for either party, he's more issue oriented. He gets behind an issue. Yeah, like what issue you think you're going to get behind that the Republicans are on board for? Are you against the estate tax? What fucking issue are you going for?
I'm pretty sure he'd be against the estate tax.
Right?
He's got a shitload of fucking money.
Is it immigration? Is it gay rights? Is it women's rights? Is it education? Whatever these things, the environment, whatever cause that he's for, the Republicans ain't fucking for it.
I mean, he could, like a lot of celebrities, well, they're not political, and then all of a sudden it's, taxes. Perhaps I will be, yeah. But also, I hope he understands. He has to be sort of diplomatic, but I hope that he understands that them wanting you to be affiliated with their party does not mean that they're trying to win the votes of Latinos. It means they're trying to steal the votes of Latinos. Ooh. They're getting you so that they don't have to actually trust any policies that help out Latinos. Very nice. It's a shortcut.
Yes. Just one other point on this. Do you guys think that the cool factor thing is really destroying America? That all these politicians think that they have to be cool too. Part of the reason that I voted for Obama twice because I kind of thought he was cool the first time, especially we were all wrapped up in all the open change and whatever. But I really think that whoever I vote for in 2016, it's going to have nothing to do with cool. Like if I find some grumpy bastard that just says shit that I believe, and you know what I mean? Like, not that that's ever going to appear either. Yeah, but it'd have to be grumpier and more truthful. Ed Asner? But you know what I mean? I would vote for Ed Asner. I trust him. He's selling reverse mortgages or something, right? But you know what I mean? Like this cool factor that they all think they have to be friends with rappers, and Obama brings Beyonce to the White, like all that stuff. I really think it's like, it's starting to ruin whatever's left of our political.
See, in 08, when it all happened, everyone wants it, and then when one gathers it, like you said, Obama did, it turned into look at the celebrity president, look at the celebrity candidate, look at the celebrity senator. They turn them into this, a bad thing of what they would like. So as soon as they don't get that, they turn into a negative until they. That's the same thing. Any celebrity they can get their hands on, they love. But if they don't get their hands on them, look at this stupid Hollywood libs. But they would love the Hollywood conservatives. They love those guys.
Yeah, and by the way, for the record, I'm pretty sure that probably more than half of Hollywood is actually Republican. But it's just not cool to say, so they just don't say anything. But they vote for where their taxes go, so they do vote Republican. Don't you think?
There's more conservatives definitely in Hollywood than people think. They seem to all be my friend on Facebook, and and they don't seem to be apologetic about it. So, although I did know this guy who was when Facebook first started, and he somehow worked for Disney, and he would go on these Facebook threads, and he would be against. He was a conservative, he was against abortion, a woman's right to choose, and evolution. So he would have these long arguments about evolution, and then he was trying to get a promotion at work. He had to go scrub all his Facebook posts of all that crazy shit he was saying. Well, why would you do that? I mean, if you really believe in what you say, if you really don't think science is correct. So that's my problem with them. It's like, you know you're crazy. You know you can't get employed saying this shit, but they do.
Yeah. All right, well. Watch out for being friends with Jimmy on Facebook.
That's right.
I think it was the moral of the
I'm retiring from Facebook. I fucking hate Facebook. I do.
Everyone hates Facebook.
It led me to Xanax.
Yeah?
I fucking couldn't take it. Just shit, the stupid drama on Facebook, arguing with people all the time, and you know, I come at people.
I mute those people. I don't know the last time I saw an argument on Facebook because I'm so quick with the mute.
Well, you don't have asshole comedian friends. Maybe that's why I do. I had a lot of right winger friends, and I would just consider it a badge of honor that I didn't block them, right? So that I let them still come say stupid shit on my page, and that all ended with Eric Garner. I was like, you know what? I don't want to hear it, don't want to see it. That all ended with De Blasio, the thing, Michael Brown, all that. I just start blocking motherfuckers left and right now. I'm done with you.
Yeah. Okay, now in the post game, he will identify all of the racist comedians that are out today.
It's funny to me that someone that's such a pot proponent as you would also need Xanax.
I would also need
that really tells you a lot about Facebook.
Yeah.
All right, from Facebook to BuzzFeed. You guys probably know the term foodies. These are these people that are posting pictures of their food all over the internet. Every time they go to a new restaurant, they got to post pictures, Instagram, everything. Well, BuzzFeed made an interesting video. It was titled "Foodies Kill Their Food for the First Time," and they're getting some blowback on it. So first, let's take a look at the video.
I hope we can enlighten some folks on the process of actually killing your own food.
I love animals. My Instagram is all cats. I'm not someone who necessarily kills things.
Who knows? Maybe I'll be a vegetarian tomorrow or something. I don't want to do this, but I think it'll be a good educational experience. I want to know, am I okay with this?
We're going to go put him in the cage, take him up to the harvest station, and do the deed. We're going to place him in the cone, upside down. You don't want to cut through feather, but you just find a spot. You do this side, and then you do the same thing this side. You'll feel the blood rush down your hand. That's when you know you did it. There. See? There. Let go. It's hot. Keep going. Hold on to the legs and go all the way in. It only takes a few seconds.
Why is this the part I don't like?
And then when the chicken is
Oh
done,
my
you just pull the
God.
head off.
Warning next time. Warning.
Up and in.
Up and in? Oh.
Oh man. The chicken is delicious. It tastes fresher, maybe because I saw it die.
Don't take your food for granted. Understand what it takes to harvest it and get it on your plate.
I don't know that I'm gonna leave here like vegetarian or vegan, but I definitely am gonna like think about it more.
While eating.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here, but real quick, some of the blowback that BuzzFeed has been getting on this is that they post many pieces on interesting ways to cook chicken. We've got a couple examples for you, including 29 ways to cook a chicken on a stovetop, go-to recipe, easy chicken pesto stack, how to cook a simple, delicious roast chicken dinner, and how to make the best roast chicken of all time. There are many other examples of how they do that.
Yeah.
29
ways chickens are like clueless. I like that one.
Yeah, chicken. Yeah. That part of it, I have no problem with that because they're just a site that's putting content out. So they're putting stuff about how you kill chickens, and they're putting stuff about how you cook them and that you shouldn't kill chickens. All that. I have no problem with that. What do you guys make of this?
That was tough to watch them slit the throats of the chicken, and I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could slit the throat of the chicken. I don't think if I had to kill the meat I ate, I would be a vegetarian.
Yeah?
Yeah. And, I eat meat, but I feel bad about it. The other day I was eating chicken, and I was feeling bad about it. I was like, but if the chicken was already, diseased and was going to die, I wouldn't feel bad,
Like, then you're in luck. There's a lot of disease.
Well, then I thought to myself, maybe I could open up a string of restaurants that just serve diseased chicken for people who feel like this to me, and we call it El Polio Loco.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
There you go. That's my contribution to this.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
I don't think that I could have slit the throat either. I've had periods of being a vegetarian, and obviously periods where I'm not, including now. But I think as terrifying or horrific as what they saw was, the reality of how food is actually killed and prepared is way more horrific because it's not one hand slowly slitting the throat. It's a conveyor belt with a guy with a pneumatic, a piston that he puts up against the head, pistons the cow. Another one comes, he pistons the cow. It's machine-like. It's like cow genocide. It's far more horrific when you think about the scale and the disease and how they're kept and the fact that they never move. That is humane. BuzzFeed's version is like a Little House on the Prairie sort of thing.
Yeah, there are many videos that you guys can check out on YouTube about how we go about the factory farming. And with the chickens, there are so many awful things. You're just touching the beginnings of it. They break their beaks off because they're packed in so tightly they don't want them pecking each other to death. So they literally rip their beaks off, the scalding with hot water, which we saw some of that. They also, because they genetically modify them to be bigger now, the chickens literally, their legs break in the cages because they can't even sustain that much weight. And that's on top of the fact that they can't move in the first place.
Yeah.
So they get no exercise.
Americans too.
Yeah, exactly. So the way they live, and I was driving up to UC Davis a couple months ago, and on the way to Davis from LA is the Harris Ranch, which is the largest. It's the largest meat producing ranch in the United States. And I kid you not, I love meat. I eat a ton of meat. They call it Cowschwitz, actually.
Yes.
And you can, when you're miles away from it, I'm not making this up.
Miles.
You can, first off, you can smell it. And
the
first time that I was going there, it's the smell of death. I didn't know what I was approaching, but I could smell death. You just know what it is. But not only that, you can literally see it because between the methane and the killing and all the gases and it's literally cow farts and it's hot and yet I still eat meat. So I don't know what
every time you don't have to kill it.
I guess because we're so distant from our food sources. You know what I mean? We really are. If I actually had to do it, yeah, maybe I wouldn't.
Every time I drive past that ranch, I vow I'm never eating meat again, and that lasts almost all the way to San Jose.
They make some good steak in San Jose.
They do.
Yeah.
I think think that if we were forced to every time we want to eat it in the modern day, I think it'd be far more rare. I mean, obviously some people in little farms or whatever still do it now. I'm sure some people would, but in the past you did it because you needed that food to live. Now we don't. We could theoretically eat quinoa if we wanted to for the rest of our life. So I'm sure that some people would do it. Some people enthusiastically kill animals. Some people torture cats. I mean, some people don't mind it. I eat it because I don't think about it. It's a philosophical and intellectual weakness of mine, I suppose. But I think that we would move past it if we were forced to kill it.
Right. We treat it like a commodity, not like a living thing, which is why McDonald's can, although I guess they don't do pink slime anymore, but that process where they took literally the worst bits of everything that fell to the floor and then washed it with ammonia, and then to create that patty that you eat, because they're not treating it like an animal, like an actual living thing, nor do they care about the human that's actually going to eat it. They care about their bottom line. Yeah. And Watch Food Inc. or a zillion other documentaries about that.
Yeah. Can I just? I'm going to take a lot of heat for this because I eat meat, yet I'm against hunters and hunting. Mm-hmm. I saw a guy on Facebook. So this guy, right before I blocked him, I went to his page. So I wanted to write something mean on his page. And then block him again. And I noticed that he had a picture of himself. This is a guy who grew up in my neighborhood, in the city of Chicago. So he's city, right? And he has a picture of himself with a deer that he had shot, and he's holding it by the antlers, and he's like, "Oh, look, I fucking shot it," right? And people are writing, "Oh, great going, nice job." And so I put underneath, I wrote underneath it, if that deer also had a rifle and he was coming at you and you beat him, good for you. But if he was just minding his own business and you snuck up on him wearing camouflage and shot him, then you're not a hero, you're just a fucking pussy. And they go, well, then people would say to me, because that's creepy. You're just a guy. People go, well, you eat meat. Yeah, but I don't get a kick out of killing the fucking thing I'm eating, right? Like, there's something weird about, when the Indians used to kill the buffalo, they used to feel guilty about it. So they made up this elaborate mythology that the buffalo surrendered themselves to the tribe to help the tribe live. So they would then respect the carcass of the buffalo, and that's why they didn't waste it, and that's why they actually gave it reverence, right? Their food, they gave the buffalo reverence. And people who go out and shoot a deer for no fucking reason other than the thrill of shooting an animal, there's something wrong with you. That there's something fucked up in you. You go, oh, you eat meat, you're a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't get a kick out of fucking killing defenseless. And that's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about eating meat. I'm talking about getting a kick out of killing animals for no reason, right? So you're not, well, I eat the deer meat, but that's not why you're doing it. You're not killing the deer because if you did it, you'd fucking starve. You're doing it because you get a kick out of it, and then you eat it so you can go, look, I eat it, I'm not an asshole. No, there's something fucked up in you that you get a kick out of killing shit. That, when kids at young age kill animals and then bury them in their backyard, which does that shit? Jeffrey Dahmer does that shit. When you ever have a kid who kills animals as a kid, you go, watch that kid, because they're going to grow up, something's fucked up with them. But when a grown-up does it, it's like, oh, look, Tommy killed a fucking deer who was just fucking eating on the side of the road, and he took out a rifle and shot him in the head. Isn't he tough? No, he's a fucking psychopathic lunatic who gets a kick out of killing shit, which, over to you, Dave.
Well, I don't know that we're going to go to the Korean barbecue after the show anymore.
I like eating meat. I'm just saying that there's something, and that doesn't make me a hypocrite. I think there's humane ways. I understand if you have to kill, but anyway. So maybe I'm a little hypocritical, a little bit, but I'm still not a maniac who gets a kick out of killing.
Right. But for the hunter that hunts actually to eat the meat and maybe uses there's things you can do with antelope.
But they still
antlers. Antelope with antlers. Right. You think it's about that sort
Yes, the reason why they do it is for the thrill of killing. And that's fucked up, It's like if you're a fisherman, that's why I don't fish anymore. I used to fish. If you were fishing the whole way, oh, I bet that fucking hook is in him good. I hope the hook's coming out through his eye. That to me is the equivalent. What kind of a maniac would be doing that while they're fishing? That's what a fucking hunter is doing. Oh, I hope I shoot this guy right in the head. Oh, I fucking hope I drop him with one shot. I hope his body's still hot when I get up to it. I'm going to strap him on the top of my car. Look, I shot this defenseless animal. It's fucked. That's fucked up.
I don't like hunters.
Well, then I'm just saying that's not cool. That doesn't make you tough. It doesn't make you an outdoorsman. It makes you a guy with a psychological problem who gets off on killing shit.
All right, Jimmy, I guess we can't go for sushi later either.
No,
we're going to be having brown rice and quinoa for dinner. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. Jimmy and John, got a couple more stories for you. A couple quick TYT lives. No more donate, says a Rubin report, and Jimmy Dore are right. You smell Harris Ranch from miles away. It's a disgusting place for cows. There's no doubt about that. Then Miranda Guzman said, Pitbull did not make up the word Dale. Love the white pronunciation, though. You are unintentionally hilarious. I feel like I'm getting whiter by the second.
Dale! Is that how you say it? Dale!
Yeah, and
Scandalo!
And Jesus and JR, you guys are going to have to get some cred back because several people have said that picture that with the Kodak is a Pitbull lyric. You guys... No, I know, but you guys should have corrected me on that.
It's your fault. You made the mistake.
Yeah. Did you guys know it was a Pitbull, the Kodak?
I know some of his songs.
Did not know that. You did not know that.
So I apologize for not intimately knowing Pitbull's lyrics. In fact, I'm proud of that.
From now on, when we do Pitbull stories, I want you to have the lyrics in front of you, so that when I fuck up the references, somebody can.
I'd rather not know their lyrics.
Have something to look at. John, you got anything else?
Yeah, I saw one that was funny, but I'm not going to read it live. It's profane, I'll say.
I like profane.
Wait, Keith Frank
better than
says,
amateur fame.
That's funny. Is there any possibility that Randy Quaid is doing a Joaquin Phoenix thing? Like he'll show up on Letterman soon?
No.
That would be awesome. Well, I really did like a lot of his movies growing up. Like I've seen Christmas Vacation probably 30 times.
Hey, look, if he's doing the Joaquin Phoenix thing, it's the greatest thing ever because Joaquin Phoenix did it for like 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. This guy's been doing it now he literally doesn't have his passport anymore, so he's really taking this.
It's more Andy Kaufman, I think, than Joaquin.
Yeah, this is the way.
And also one of the things, Small, that we keep saying he was in Christmas Vacation. He was in the original one.
Yeah.
The original one, he was great in the first one.
Oh, he was in
Vegas.
Of course he was.
He was always his brother, his deadbeat brother.
I think he's best in Christmas Vacation, though. I mean, like he's like this well-meaning fool that he goes out and kidnaps the guy just to make his Christmas better. Like, I liked that growing up.
By the way, if I'm not mistaken, there was a direct DVD Christmas Vacation about his family that he was in. I think there was. All right, but let's move on to Iceland, a country that I'm pretty sure Dennis Quaid can't go to. Randy Quaid. Dennis Quaid. Oh, Dennis Quaid.
He can't go either.
He can't go there either.
It's human trafficking.
Yeah. Anyway, something interesting is happening in Iceland right now. This is really fascinating. Soon, Icelanders will be able to publicly worship at a shrine to Thor, Odin, and Frigg, with construction starting this month on the island's first major temple to the Norse gods since the Viking Age. You can see there's going to be some pronunciation coming in some of these names I'm about to give you. We've got a quote here from Hilmar Orn Hilmarsson. We got this from The Guardian. He said, "We see the stories as poetic metaphors and a manifestation of the forces of nature and human psychology." The Guardian went on to explain that membership in the Astuer Felagio, John, how was that?
That sounds good.
That sounded good? Yeah. Has tripled in Iceland in the last decade to 2,400 members since last year, out of a total population of 330,000, data from Statistics Iceland showed. So this is sort of interesting because we think of this stuff as, I guess, just sort of along the lines of like Greek mythology, right? And people are starting to pray to Thor and Odin. I saw the movies. I like the movies. I saw Avengers. I like Thor.
That probably actually boosts attendance quite a bit.
No, I mean, what do they say? Don't they say right now that the third largest religion in England is Jediism or something like that? I mean, really, when people put Jediism on the census, so people like this kind of stuff.
Don't go for the set. Come on. Does Thor give kids bone cancer too? Because
he's not that kind of guy.
I'm against the god that gives kids bone cancer. Yeah. So whatever god that Thor doesn't, then I'll pray to Thor. He's not much of a healer. He fights ice giants, I think. Oh, ice giants? Okay. Yeah, frost giants. Something. I was surprised to find out that Iceland has a population of less than 330,000 people.
Doesn't that sound
not a lot of people? But no, I'm totally for this and for the Jedi. That's not even as many people are in a congressional district.
Yeah.
That's literally not a lot of people, but beautiful country right here. I'm not a fan of traditional religions, but these sorts of like quasi-parody, like the Jedi, like the Flying Spaghetti Monster, if it's just something that produces community and gives you an interesting way of thinking about your life, perhaps to structure your life in a new way, I am totally fine with that because it's much less likely that people are going to take it so seriously that they're willing to kill people or to infringe on their rights as a result of it. flying spaghetti monster people never told me what I could do with my body, for instance.
Right. So to that point, there is nothing in the doctrine that sounds untoward or anything like that. The temple is going to host ceremonies such as weddings and funerals. They're also going to celebrate the ancient sacrificial ritual of Block, with music, reading, eating, and drinking, but they're going to leave out the slaughter of animals. Well, Jimmy, we were just talking about animal slaughter. You're against it, even though you eat animals.
No, I eat them.
So you would sort of be down with this.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that.
You're a Nordic worshiper.
Let's do it. I'm all for it. Yeah.
I like that it's less dogmatic and more festive. Those Thor followers, they enjoy getting hammered.
That's an offensive joke for you when you did that.
I got it. But no, like I said, if there was a Jedi church here,
I would actually probably join some sort of Jedi church.
Yeah, or maybe.
Yeah, well, the Jedi had a temple. It was then burned, obviously, on Coruscant. I don't have to tell you the whole story. When the Empire turned the clones on the... Yeah.
When I think about the younglings.
Yeah, it was a slaughter. It was a real slaughter. There you go.
Yeah, anyway, no, I don't know how much of it is sort of parody. I mean, people will get involved in this thing to sort of reconnect with their... I guess the history of their country more than a belief in the spiritual nature of it. But overall, I think that this is much more positive. And it's sort of an interesting, maybe inevitable outgrowth of the fact that religion, especially in the EU countries and the countries in that region, religion had been going down for a long time. You have a period of intense secularism. And then you have sort of a desire for something, which might lead to an interest in science or philosophy or perhaps bringing back these old religions. I'm much more okay with that.
There you go. I wonder, honestly, if the Thor movies and the Avengers did really well in Iceland.
Can't hurt,
right? It's using mythology that they seem to care about.
You know, I think we stop looking outward for our gods, and we look inward, right? Because that's where the real knowledge is. That's where the real religion. It comes from the collective unconscious, according to Jung, that we all share. That already knows what's going to happen. What's going to happen? You know. We all have, when you have dreams and you have these symbols that come in your dreams, those aren't coming from you. Those are universal. So Jung found that out, that you can have a dream. He would have dreams where he had these symbols, and he found out those are the same symbols that showed up in Eastern philosophies and showed up in some island philosophies, showed up in Africa. He's like, well, how could they all, then it's not coming from my own head. So that's why I encourage people to stop looking outward, go inward. That's the true journey.
But Jimmy, Thor had a giant hammer. and that's just cool.
That's simple.
All right, let's move on to a story involving acid and the penis.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know you're going to like this one. A 25-year-old South African by the name of Humphrey Koza can no longer use his penis. Why? Well, it turns out that his 17-year-old girlfriend, who at the moment is going unnamed, found a video of the two of them having sex that she knew that he had made, but did not know that it was going to be posted on social media, and then she poured acid on his penis. We've got a quote from him. He says, "Everything happened in the blink of an eye because I saw her when she was coming with a bottle, but I didn't realize that she was carrying acid. She just angrily called me a dog. She asked how in the world I could have done such an evil thing to her. It was only then that I realized that she was talking about the video that I took while we were having sex." He then went on to say, "We agreed to have sex, but she was not aware that I was filming the sex using my laptop computer. I did not intend to show anyone the video, and I still don't know how it got into social media." So I do have to correct the way I introed that. Apparently she didn't know. I thought she knew about the laptop being there. But then there's this odd question of how, if it was on his laptop, he didn't put it on social media. He says, how did it get on social media? Anyway, so she literally burned his penis with acid. Jimmy.
Yeah, you shouldn't surreptitiously videotape people that you're having sex with without telling them. And I'm not condoning acid on the penis, of course. I'm a penis owner myself, and I've done some shitty things that I could probably deem acid worthy. So I would just say, I'm against the acid, but very much like Charlie Hebdo, they were asking for. I'm kidding about that.
Charlie Hebdo.
You know, I feel the other way about it.
Yeah, I don't know exactly about his defense of, I don't know how it ended up on social media. I would imagine that in the wake of being burned with acid, he wants to appear as the victim. So if he did post it himself, he's unlikely to admit to that at this point.
I don't know how. I don't know how those things ended up, but I was just recording it secretly for myself. A girl who will get naked with me in person. I'd also like to have a videotape of it that I don't want to share with anybody. And I'm like,
but I will say, I often wonder about what sorts of things I'll say that'll get me attacked on the internet. So I don't know if this is a controversial thing to say or not. And maybe you guys disagree, but this is worse. But throwing the acid on the penis is worse than even intentionally putting it on. Like, if that's against the law wherever they are in South Africa,
right? His
then
scar
too. But you can't throw acid on people's penises just because they post videos of you having sex. Like that's far worse. It's also kind of psychotic.
His damaged penis is worse than her damaged reputation. Maybe that's just because we all have penises, but I think we'd all agree on that, right?
Yeah, I just think.
Yeah, and don't throw it on a woman either. Don't throw acid on people. I'm generally against all acid human contact around the globe.
Can we all just take a picture of ourselves naked with a boner and put it on the internet so we can get this over with, right? So nobody cares any fucking more than a sex video clip
for literally years.
Honest?
Yeah, we have National Nude Day.
Because I'm sure there's a picture or a video of me doing some shit that I'm super embarrassed about. So let's just all do it, and then it'll come out someday, like when right before my wedding. Somebody say, hey, there's that picture of you, fucking that blah blah blah.
And don't forget to use hashtag TYT Live when you put your genitals on the internet. But real quick, Uprox is reporting that Koza is declining to press charges, stating that it's pointless because it won't bring back his manhood, and that he doesn't want to ruin the girl's life by sending her to jail. So,
yeah. See, he's the pornographer with a heart.
Yeah, he's a romantic. She really messed up a good thing there, apparently. No, he doesn't want to ruin her. She could go and burn other people. I mean, clearly, like, you don't get to make that. It's not like she's still a violent person. It's not a one-time thing. Like, man, everybody gets one melted penis. No, she's a violent person who, when you cross her, will turn to hideous, torturous, hostile-style torture. That you can't allow her to go free. And also, by the way, as is very often, I don't know the legal system in South Africa, but I know here, when you know that someone has committed a crime like that, it doesn't matter if the victim wants to press charges. It's still a crime, not just against the victim, but against the state.
Against the state.
You have to bring her in.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got one more for you. We'll stick with disturbing sexual acts. This one out of Japan. 100 women were drugged and sexually accosted by a man who claimed that he was bringing them in for a medical study, but of course that is not what he did. Detectives say that scores of women responded to advertisements seeking volunteers for a clinical research measuring blood pressure during sleep over 2 years in November of 2013. Footage of the attacks was then posted on the internet or sold to producers of porn films, allegedly netting Noguchi more than 10 million yen, which is about $85,000. As far as anyone knows, he has no medical training or medical expertise, so this isn't some event where his well-intentions went awry or something of that nature. I was trying to give this guy the benefit of the doubt for some sick reason. Yeah.
He is a nominee for the Bill Cosby Humanitarian Award.
He got to Bill Cosby before I could. Damn it. That's the only way you can get away with this. You have to start in the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I mean, we hear about these things all the time. 100 is
it's an insane amount. I think the scary thing is not just the sheer scale, although that's obviously horrific. It's the amount of planning that had to go into it to expect and to get away with it up until the 100th person or more. It requires an insane amount of, like, an inhuman level of attention to detail to want to do that. It's hard to comprehend.
But also, what I think in this case, what shows that something so sadistic was going on here is that he then sold it to pornographers. So did he not think that these women who were drugged, now maybe it involved drugs that screwed up their memory, but if it ever came across, that somehow it was going to get back to them. So he really was so deranged in his thought process here that he thought he was going to get away with it. Which
weird that
you're the one putting the evidence out there yourself.
It's weird that a guy who would hook up a scam to have sex with 100 unconscious women he drugged wouldn't think it all the way through. Right? It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's right, I'm selling it to pornographers. They're going to send maybe somebody will notice that I'm fucking doing this.
Yeah. Pretty terrible.
Yeah, but again, You just fix that one little problem, and you got a pretty watertight scam going there. Right. So now maybe somebody's going to learn from his mistakes, and you just don't try to sell it to pornographers. That was his big mistake right there. It was watertight. They didn't know what was happening. They got paid. He got happy. Everybody seemed to be. I don't know. I only heard about this with Bill Cosby. You say we hear about this all the time. I haven't heard about.
Well, these types of things where women get drugged.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and as if this all isn't terrible enough, it sounds like several of the women were in their teens. Then it went all the way up to the 40s. So that just adds another layer of it. This guy's going to probably go away for a long, long time.
Yeah, and it's a non-American person, so he could be out in 10 years.
And I guess he's going to be. I guess he'll be the focus of a few blood pressure studies while he's in prison. You know what I'm talking about? Oh!
On that note, people,
can I put this cup on your arm if you know what I'm talking about?
That's not the arm that they have to be worried about. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, guys. Stick around for the post game if you're a subscriber, and if not, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.